So I was talking about making a deplating cell. I've ran one long time ago. Had it set up real fancy like, and this one will work. You know, a little Pyrex dish. It's probably about 3.5 inches deep. You have your negative always to your lead. I pulled this lead piece out of a recyclable battery. See if it works. It seemed kind of crumbly. I've never, I don't have my lead strips anymore. You can make lead strips from just about anything that has lead. Originally, I had a piece of a roofing jack for roofing, and it was like flat and it was perfect. Copper mesh basket, kind of old and used, definitely. I even fabricated one out of a piece of a pipe. Um, the cell gets hot pretty quick when you got this thick of copper in there, but it did work. The material I'm running is not the best. It's partially plated, but nonetheless, we can work with this. Um, the electrolyte will be the sulfuric acid. This is concentrated. It's pretty good. It's pretty concentrated stuff. If it touches water, it gets crazy. It's pretty good. I like to use 2 containers for when the material's finished. I like to just dump the pins or whatever into a dry one here, and then from there I will rinse them off or whatever, and put them into my rinse water one, and that will be just the rinse water. So I'll clean the pins and then put them in there, or vice versa. Lab power supply, trusty little stir rod, just in case it stalls. You could stir it around a little bit, and I'm not sure if the weight of these pins is going to pull that basket down in there, but if it does, I'll work with something to get that going. So let me load this up and I'll show you. So here we are. We filled it up, not quite to the top, just enough to cover the material that's going to be deplated. I need to get me a better camera. Sorry about that. So we turn it on, and we can adjust how we want this to start working. Ideally, you want 10 amps, 12 volt. Once you see that foam coming off like that, it's working. Pretty quick here. These pins will start to deplate, but that's a excellent indicator that it's working. The material starts to sizzle a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but what it's doing is it's deplating that gold now. We're running at only 6 amps, 29.5 volts. So it's doing it nice and easy. Considering I've always used battery chargers, when the charge goes down to 0, it would signal that it's done. With this lab supply, we're at 7 amps now. It's climbing up a little bit, a little more. Let's get it down to like 12. 12 volts, 2 amps. I don't know if you can see, but it's starting to disperse that black powder. That's your gold right there. Little black powder. Let this finish up and then I'll come back. Okay, I didn't show, but when it's completed, which these are, I like to throw them into a dry one. And the reason that I'd like to put them in the dry one first is because you do not want water in this at all. Water will mess it all up. It'll get a violent reaction, dangerous. So I like to take the basket and I'll dump it in here. And then from there, I'll put that one with water and I'll put this one into that one to try to keep this one as dry as possible without any water. That way it doesn't come into this basket or into this cell. So here we go. I've reloaded it, set it back up. It's running pretty high right here, 29 volts, almost 9 amps. And you can see clearly the gold's coming off. See if I could get this light. Just the light doesn't do any justice, but you can see in that corner it's still tan, but here it's starting to get black. That is the gold coming off of these pins. They're not high quality pins, partially plated, but there's a lot of them, so I mean this would take me quite a while to do. But I mean, I'm trying to get this gold, trying to make up this money, see where we're at the end of all of this material that I'm processing, and see where we're at. So anyway, that'll do it for now. Once I get this finished up, look at that. You see that smoke coming out of there? Might be running a little bit too much, a little bit too high, or that, or the copper is sticking out of the electrolyte, you see, and it gets hot. You don't want to run the cell too hot. If it gets hot to the touch, you want to go ahead and shut it down and let it cool off and stuff before you continue running, because hot sulfuric creates hydrogen gas, I believe it is, and you know, whenever you're doing these leads, you want to shut the power down before you connect and disconnect. If you do it while it's live with power and current going through it, it makes spark. You mix that spark with that gas and you're going to make it pop. Bad. Just like working with car batteries, man. So, when the time comes to clean this up, I'll make another video for that. And there's a couple ways to do it. You can let this settle. You could let this settle down for a few days, and then you can decant the liquid off of the top and probably reuse it. Try not to get any of the black powder in there, because it will come up quick. Or else if you're completely done and you're done with your cell and you plan on not doing it again for, you know, whatever, you can always fill up a beaker with some ice and carefully pour this solution into it, and it'll get hot, it'll melt the ice, but as you dilute the acid, the gold settles easier in the liquid with the H2O versus just acid. So that'll come in the second video. So that's going to do it for now. Be on the lookout for part 2. See ya.